Hey everyone, you ever look at your bank account and just feel like your money isn't going as far as it did last year or even last month? Well, it's not just you. And today, we're going to get to the bottom of exactly why that happens.
I mean, right? You hear those stories from your parents or grandparents about how a movie ticket used to cost a quarter, and it sounds like a fairy tale. Well, there's a very real reason for that feeling, a kind of invisible force that's constantly shrinking your wallet, and it's called inflation.
Let's put it this way. Think about your morning coffee. Maybe last year it was, say, $2. Now it's $2.20. Okay, 20 cents, who cares, right? But apply that to everything. Your groceries, the gas for your car, your rent. Suddenly, that slow creep turns into a major squeeze.
So yeah, that squeeze, that feeling, has a name. And once you get what inflation really is, you'll start to see it everywhere. So let's get right to it and define what we're actually talking about.
Okay, so here it is. At its core, inflation is just the rate that prices for pretty much everything go up over time. It's that sneaky thing that makes a loaf of bread, a new shirt, or a tank of gas just cost more than it used to.
The easiest way to think about it is this. Inflation basically attacks your money's buying power. Every single dollar you have can buy a little bit less today than it could yesterday. It's like your money is just getting weaker over time.
All right, so we get what it is. But why? Why do prices keep going up? Where does this pressure come from? Well, economists usually point to three main culprits. Let's break them down.
So, you've got demand-pull inflation. That's the classic too much money chasing too few goods. Then there's cost-push inflation, which is when making stuff just gets more expensive. And finally, you have monetary factors, which is all about how much cash is actually floating around in the economy. Let's dig into each of these.
Okay, first up, demand-pull. This is just classic supply and demand, really. Picture this. A brand new, super hyped video game console comes out. Everybody wants one, right? But the company can only make so many. What happens? Well, when demand is through the roof and there isn't enough to go around, prices shoot up. That's it. Too much money chasing too few consoles.
All right, number 2 is cost push. This one's all about what it costs to make things. So let's say the price of oil suddenly gets more expensive. Well, that means it costs more to ship products to the store. The company shipping those goods isn't just going to absorb that loss. Nope, they're going to pass that extra cost right on to you. And boom, the price of everything on the shelf goes up a little.
And our third cause? Monetary factors. This one's actually pretty simple. Imagine you have a glass of juice. If you pour a bunch of water into it, you have more liquid, sure, but the juice is weaker, right? It's diluted. Money works the same way. If a government just prints tons and tons of new money, each individual dollar becomes less valuable. It gets diluted.
Okay, so that's the what and the why. But let's be real. The only thing that really matters is, so what? What does all this mean for you? For your bank account, your savings, your loans? Let's get into the practical side of things. This might sound weird, but inflation actually creates winners and losers. For savers, it's pretty brutal. That money you've worked so hard to put away, well, inflation is slowly eating away at its value every single day. But, and this is the crazy part, for some borrowers, it can actually be a good thing. Think about a mortgage. The amount you owe is fixed, right? But you're paying it back over the years with money that's worth less and less. You're literally paying back your loan with cheaper money.
So is that it? Are we all just stuck on this price roller coaster with no control? Well, not exactly. A little bit of inflation is actually seen as normal for a healthy economy. But when it gets out of hand, there are ways to rein it in.
The big players here are usually central banks and governments. A central bank might raise interest rates. So, what does that do? It makes borrowing money more expensive, which usually makes people and companies spend less. That helps cool things down. Governments can also step in with different policies to try and balance out that whole supply and demand equation.
Look, here's the bottom line. You and I can't stop inflation. It's a massive force, but we don't have to be its victim. Just understanding what we've talked about today, what it is, where it comes from, puts you in the driver's seat. It helps you make way smarter decisions with your money.
So there you have it. Inflation is that steady price climb that slowly makes our money weaker. It's caused by high demand, by rising costs, and by the amount of money out there. And it's a double-edged sword, bad for savers, but sometimes good for borrowers. So the real question I want to leave you with is this. Now that you know the